Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. I go by the name of Clauiee Mpanza. Never alone, always alongside me is football commentator Mpanza, and of course, sports journalist extraordinaire Mpanza, always with me here on this show. We have a jam-packed show for you today. So much to look forward to. We'll get to look into what's been happening around the world of sports, and we've got a special new feature in this episode where we pick our star of the week. Please do indulge us as well. You can let us know on your comment sections, of course, as to who's your star of the week, who has impressed you. I'm looking forward to hearing from the gentlemen. And of course, Bafana, they march on to the quarterfinals. We are absolutely ecstatic about that. We'll be looking into, of course, that quarterfinal clash against Cape Verde. And of course, that encounter against Morocco. We'll be unpacking that. And of course, to top that up, I'm not just doing it with Mpanza and Mpanza. We've got the coolest cat in the land who will be joining us in a bit, of course, to unpack Bafana and their performance. And then looking into broken hearts, right? Temkosi Lodge has left Orlando Pirates, moved on to Mamelodi Sundowns, so we'll be unpacking that. He's not the only one that has broken as Mnyama Faithful's heart, so we'll be unpacking as to who else left Orlando Pirates to go join Mamelodi Sundowns. And then the quiz continues, yeah, but we'll try and make it a bit lighter this time around. There won't be no points, but we'll be asking them questions. Of course, you can always indulge in that. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Cool.
It's great to be a South African sports fans these days.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots happening. So, we're staying on top of the world. Great start to the year, no?
Definitely.
Yeah, happy for Bafana. I did say in the first episode that when there's not noise about this team, it will surprise you.
I love how you say I did say, because when we were previewing the Morocco game, you were not sure, eh?
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
In his defense, he wasn't the only one. Neither was I, yeah? So,
I guess a lot of people were not sure whether we'll beat Morocco, but, they rocked up. There must be like a Springboks against, New Zealand.
Yeah.
They rock up when it matters the most, and they did that, and kudos to the guys.
On that note, Mpanza, I saw you tweeted earlier on that Coach Morgan Mamila was onto something. He said, adopt this thing of Mamelodi Sundowns and it will work for you. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I guess Coach Mamila, is the guy who shoots his mouth most of the times, and a lot of the times the stuff that he says gets ridiculed. But to a large extent, he was on the money. Obviously, you can't have a national team that is all entirely made up of players from one team. But because of the dominance of Sundowns or the domestic scene, it's not surprising that most of the players, 8 players in the lineup, are from Sundowns. So, yeah, we can say he was ahead of his time, Bra Morgan.
On that note, let's find out what's been, of course, making headlines around the world of sport.
Bafana's journey continued in the Africa Cup of Nations as they defeated tournament favourites Morocco 2-0. Goals from Evidence Makgopa and a spectacular free kick from Teboho Mokoena cemented a quarter-final showdown against Cape Verde. WBC International Flyweight and new IBO Flyweight champion Jackson Chauke won by way of unanimous decision in a blow-by-blow fight against Kaisi Kademi. The fight went all the way to the 12th round before the 38-year-old from Tembisa was crowned champion. Kwena Mapaka continued his good run of form at the Under-19 Cricket World Cup, taking another 5-wicket haul in a Super 6 match against neighbours Zimbabwe. He now has taken the joint most 5-wicket hauls in youth ODI history with 3. Mapaka is now 3rd on South Africa's all-time wicket takers list in Under-19 cricket.
Well, South Africa, of course, making the headlines as they've made the South Africans proud as they continue to march on the quarterfinals of the AFCON. Now, we move over, gentlemen, to our star of the week. We'll start with a gentleman who did not read his emails this time around. Mpanza, who is your star of the week?
I'll go with Jackson Chauke. I think in South Africa boxing, we generally don't have good stories to tell because of the trauma that has been happening with the sport. And it's nice that once in a while you get a world champion. I was a bit shocked that the guy is almost 40 years old. And, he became a champion so late in his career. And, I just don't know how many times he's going to have a chance to defend a title. Yeah. But I'm happy that he has finally achieved his dream of becoming a champion.
Age is nothing but a number. Mpanza, who's your star of the week?
Undoubtedly, Teboho Mokoena with his performance against Morocco. Not just the goal. Look, the goal was a wonder goal late in the game, and it came at a special time when we were under a bit of pressure. But just the general performance in that match against Morocco, I thought he was outstanding. His numbers were quite impressive. Yep. Pass rate of 86%. He connected with 56 of 65 of his passes. So I thought he was outstanding defensively, offensively, even on the counter-attack, even helped with the set piece that he scored, but the red card that came from that as well. So great AFCON for him so far, but especially this one match where his match rating, I think, was 8 out of 10. So great for him. Long may that continue.
Yeah, no, I love your picks, gentlemen. I guess I'm taking you guys a bit overseas.
Yeah.
My star of the week, it's Arthur Leclerc. Do you guys know him?
Formula One.
So he's not in Formula One yet, but his big brother, you guessed right, because Charles Leclerc is his big brother. So he's currently racing in the Italian GT Championship, but he is the development driver for Ferrari. So first time this week, got a seat, of course, to drive alongside his brother, which is absolutely great. After not so a great time at the Formula One Ferrari Academy last year. So it's great to see that he's been given a chance. So I guess our stars is looking into defying the odds and somehow managing to get one on top of the other. All right, so we move over now. The man who is clearly also within our space and, of course, reading emails. Once upon a time, actually, he was an on-field player, left-footed, and he was like, no, this is not it. We're going to move into goalkeeping. Became one of the best goalkeepers in the country from, of course, the Kingdom of Eswatini. It's the coolest cat in the land. William Shonge, how are you doing, sir?
Clauiee, thanks so much for the invite, and I'm unbelievably well.
You are not aging at all, William Shongwe.
Thank you. I'll take that for a compliment.
Yeah, no. Looking younger than these two next to you.
Now you're shaming us down.
No, I'm not shaming you.
Listen, I'm just a guest here. This is just a once-off. So you'll need this guy, so be nice now.
Sure.
I must deal with them afterwards. Yeah. Okay. William Shongwe, I want to find out your thoughts, right? Because, of course, one of the best keepers that we've seen, a legend, Mahlati, has been saying the entire week, looking forward to having you here. Ronwen Williams, what have you made of him and his progression as a keeper? Because you've seen him from a very young age and how he's marshalling this Bafana, because it's not only, of course, about making sure that you stop, but he's also part of the play, which is the nice thing about Ronwen. He will make the decisive ball passing to make sure that, of course, the play continues for Bafana and Sundowns.
Well, the story of Ronwen Williams for me is amazing. Like you said, at least I've known him from the time when he was still 13 years old, arriving at the Supersport Academy. Yeah. And how he didn't look anything like he looks now. I'm talking about him being so vocal, taking the leadership stand, and of being even captaining the team at some stages. It's amazing how he has evolved from that time to the Ronwen we see him. To an extent that even when I told him, it's just amazing. Before he even got promoted to the first team, he just didn't have the right attitude about training. You know, I always had to drag him, I always had to push him, and one time I nearly clapped him, actually. Really? I looked at him in the face. Do you realize what you have? Sure. Do you know that one day you'll be a Bafana? Wow. You know, I mean, I said it out of anger because he didn't realize it. He didn't know a thing, and he didn't care for that matter. So for me, it's just amazing to see how he has owned up to that. And we do talk about it now and then, about that moment, you know, when I told him that. So it's fantastic. It's good for the country. I don't know. I've got so much to say about Ronwen Williams. You know, I told Kune, when Kune was still at his best, and I said, Kune, someone is coming to take your position. And Kune was like, oh. And later on, once Ronwen started playing, and he calls me, Kune, he says, hey, I saw your boy.
Makes sense now.
And he got worried from that time. So, listen, this augurs well for South Africa, for Mamelodi Sundowns, and just the country as a whole. He's really stood up and risen to the platform.
I'm glad you mentioned leadership from Ronwen. In his development, in his younger days, as a goalkeeper at Supersport United, you and I would sit together in commentary.
Yes.
And of the only criticism you would only ever have towards Ronwen was his leadership and outspokenness. Talk to us about how that's developed and what you're seeing now from him in that regard.
Which was the biggest challenge for any goalkeeper. If you want to play at that level, you have to be very vocal. And as a youngster, he had Abu Morgan Gold, Abu Bongan Kumalo, who already were Bafana players. And it was a bit of a challenge him to rise up to them and actually call them to order. Imagine somebody that already has a problem being outspoken, being to command his area, and then suddenly have to face up to these legends of the game.
Teenager then.
He's a teenager then. So, but now that's where Gavin, I think, came very good in helping me to address that, like making it an issue, a big issue with the boy, with every training session that I had with him, just to get him out of that. And in no time, that very first season, halfway through, I was like, what? Ronwen looked a different picture altogether. I was like, what has happened? Which obviously I was very excited about, because I knew that if he doesn't get that one right, it will become a problem.
Mahlatsi, to stay with
I guess
you.
for me, my conclusion to this is that the other key thing for him is that if you look at the senior goalkeepers he played with, the current Bafana coach, guys like Calvin Mullen, so he has learned from some of the best in the business. And if you are in a company of such caliber of people, you can only improve. And also, he has grown out to be somebody who has responded to the demands of the modern goalkeeper. Yes. You can see he's a guy who likes to play from the... I know some coaches are scared by this thing of playing from the back, but you know, he likes it. He does it very well. He's comfortable on the ball. They do that Sundowns. They do that at Bafana now.
Listen, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
That, even at Supersport, Gavin would never take any goalkeeper. There are many goalkeepers that came that were very good, that could hold the ball, that can make saves, and but they weren't comfortable with their feet. And that was always a big issue.
Yeah.
And sometimes Gavin will say, today, there's no other training that you're going to do with him, particularly closer to the game or over the weekend. It's like footwork.
Yeah.
That is it. So, and in this modern day and age of our game, that is a prerequisite for any goalkeeper. So 100% indeed. But the team that obviously is now playing for, they're a team that likes to build from the back. It's come very good for them as well.
100%. So now when we look into AFCON, right, and we look into our defence, mainly our central defence, we know that in our opening game against Mali, it was Umvala and Ulu that were together, paired together, and it didn't go too well, right? And then now in the second game, that's when we changed it and we put Umvala and Kakana. What have you made of that? And that, do you think that in changing that central defence, that has also helped Ronwen Williams?
In a big way. I mean, which for me is where maybe we need to give that old man, Hugo Bruce.
True.
In the way, as much as there was pressure about him playing Mamelodi Sundowns players, but, you know, as a national team coach, there's not a lot of time to work on combinations. The players can be so good coming from their teams. But if you have a group of players in that team playing for group tactics reasons, like the defensive line, midfielders, you know, you want to build on what they bring from their team structure, because now you don't have to do a lot as a coach to try and work those. And for me, Kulu, for that matter, I was actually shocked that he started, because he hasn't been playing at Supersport. I was a little bit surprised to say, how does he make it ahead of the other defenders that are there? Kekana in particular, who is the Mamelodi Sundowns. Look at that back four. It's all Mamelodi back five, if I may add.
Yes.
You know, so that for me is massive. That is where I think the old man got it right, regardless of the pressure that he was under from the country. And we can take this back in as far as how Hugo has done in getting this team right. I mean, from the beginning, when he made some of the selections, like Lepasa, who had not played, and yet he dropped him, and suddenly Lepasa is scoring. I remember that game against Liberia. And so, you see, there's something that the old man knows and does that works for him.
Now, talking about changes that have been made, there's also another one that's of interest. Tapelo Morena, coming into the wide attacking positions. He's nice because he can play defensively, he can play going forward as well. But what have you thought of the changes? We know the change centrally and what it's done defensively to shore things up. What about Morena in that crucial position out wide on the right going forward? What have you thought of him?
Exactly the reason is like you pick certain players that will do a certain job for you. And we know this type of games are very, very difficult. Tactically, it's demanding when you don't have the ball. You need players that will respond when you don't have the ball. In today's day, football, you need to play when you have the ball. You need to be excellent. You still need to play when you don't have the ball. And that is why, in the case of Morena, because he's developed this natural ability to also defend. He was originally an attacking player.
Yeah.
So where he is right now is his original position at Celtic. And he came to Sundowns, he was converted into a defender. Imagine when you have bought two from one player, you need, it's almost normal now that players has got to be versatile. You know, to be able to adapt in the different demands of the game at the time that they're in there. So when you have that, where a player can release himself from attacking to help defensively, which sometimes you think like, what is it doing? What is he going? But you need that team to stay compact. And so that when also you need them to go for it because of his speed, he can let go of that defensive position and cover the distance to avail himself in attack. So it's perfect for me.
All right, Ramahlati, to stay with the adapting, right? We've seen, I was about to say Mamelodi Sundowns. We've seen Bafana, you know, playing different styles, whereas sometimes they're playing the long ball and bypassing, of course, that middle field. So in that and the adapting, because I think the biggest challenge for Bafana is that in the first half, you'd see them that, okay, this is what they're trying to do, and then, but it's not working out. Then the second half, then whatever Coach Hugo says to them, now you see a different Bafana, whereas they're pushing just a bit more, playing together as a team instead of, you know, that Shoeshine trying to do a bit of skills there. What have you made of us as well, being able to adapt to the games and, of course, the opponents that we play against?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, obviously, adaptation is very important. You have to adapt to conditions, you have to adapt to the weather and all these kinds of things. And also, that shows the quality of the players that we have and the coaching.
Mahlati, staying, of course, with adaptation, right? I think we've seen for Bafana that we play a different kind of game. Sometimes we try, of course, to play a bit quicker and then, therefore, bypassing, of course, just that middle park. And then sometimes you see, that, okay, let's just try and play with speed. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Talk to us about the importance of adaptation, especially when you look into how we played against Mali, how we've played against Namibia, how we've played against Tunisia. You've seen different sides to Bafana, but obviously a consistent side after the Mali defeat.
No, you're right. At this level, adaptation is key. Not only, you know, because of the analysis that the analysts would have done in terms of looking at opposition, because you come up against different teams with different styles and different players and different qualities. But also, you know, there's issues of the weather and all those kinds of things. But also, the key thing there is that the quality of the players that we have to be able to acclimatize to whatever conditions that are necessary for a particular game or for a particular venue. So it's quite a complex thing that needs to happen, but also it's important what comes from the coach, because the coaching becomes important. You know, if a coach you know, knows his stuff and knows what he's doing, he can be able to lead the players as to how they need to, you know, sort of acclimatize when they get to a particular match, but also to touch base on what, you know, the two gentlemen have said earlier on. One of the most important things that have caught my eye for Bafana in this tournament has been Evidence Mahopa. And it comes from Pirates because, you know, he started playing not so long ago. And, you know, we know when Hugo came here, he's one of the players that he actually showed faith in, one of the so-called younger players. He started playing at Pirates, and then now he's back in the team. And he plays a very important role for this national team because he always sort of reminds me of the late Philemon Masinga. Not in terms of quality, but in terms of what he brings. He's tall, he's a bit biggish. He holds up to the ball. He lays the second ball to the oncoming guys. And, you know, in the last game, a cherry on top was a goal. So, you know, it's those kinds of things where we can talk about adaptation and how the analysts analyze and how they help players to be able to put certain strength to the team.
You know, speaking about adaptation, there's also in-game adjustments that have to be made. And I remember, William, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a game we did together where we saw one coach change tactics, and then the second coach had to change teams. And we kept talking about that until we got to maybe 4 or 5 different changes within one game that both coaches are making and the other one responding. I say that to say this, when you look at Bafana and what you mentioned about the different ways we've played, it's not just in different games, but within one game. Especially in the Morocco game, after we had the lead, we then used our pace on the counter-attack beautifully to unsettle them. And it caused big problems, leading to the second goal, of course. So that's also key.
How does that come about? Suddenly, with Bafana having had that goal now, means that they could see the beat and just monitor the game. And but what happens is, with Morocco now coming, it means they're playing a very high line. Now that creates a space behind the defensive line of Morocco.
Yeah.
That is now where those long balls and the speed of Bafana come in. And this is when you're chasing a game. Those are some of the challenges that you face as a team that is chasing a game. Morocco found themselves in that position.
And I want to stay with that because we noticed, especially in that first half, that they were using more of the width, that being Morocco, against Bafana. They were trying to and the funny thing is that they did the same thing when they were at F&B. I know, Mahlatsi, you said we can't look too much into it, but it's proving that that game at F&B has helped us to kind of understand that Morocco loves to use the width more than being more central. They try to bypass the middle park and pass all the long balls, and that didn't really work for them because Coach Hugo mastered that, and hence then now they struggled with that. Talk to us, Babuli, about that, and of course then the danger of only mastering the widths.
Here's what a coach does. The most dangerous place to make sure that you're not exposed is more central, where shots can be taken directly. So as a team, you're trying to keep that area a bit more compact to an extent that you draw even the fullbacks to play a little bit narrow, giving them the width deliberately, because then you can readjust. Because these North African countries, they're very good with their short passing game. And they're very quick, and they understand one another. The movements are almost like programmed from, way back. So, but if you secure that middle, it means that now they'll be forced to play out. But as they play out, you still have a second chance to adjust to deal with the cross. As much as crosses are dangerous, but a direct shot is even more dangerous.
Is that not what Tunisia did as well? They went out wide, sending in crosses a lot, which then brings to the for Umvala.
Yes.
And how important he's been in the air defensively
for
South Africa. I thought he's been outstanding. He's been a soldier in the air for us.
No, he definitely is. Mahlatsi.
To support this discussion, I mean, we had a discussion with Coach Orlando not so long ago, I think, before they closed, and he was talking about the issue of the width. He says, when you force the opposition to go to the width, you are almost disarming them because you can't score a goal from the corner kick.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
you still have a second chance to deal with the cross.
You know what I mean? They can still come back and organize. So if you are straight, as you are saying, they can take shots from the straight. So you have to push them outside, and that's where the left back and the right back, or the full backs, can be able to do their job in terms of defending, disarming them, taking the ball and attacking them again. So it's one of those things that coaches do when they analyze teams and how can we disarm a strong team. And if you look at Morocco, they've got a very experienced guy, Ashraf Hakimi, who goes straight and put in the cross. If you stop that guy, half the job is done.
100%. All right. So I don't know what you guys made of course, the Moroccan side in terms of their support. And I found this, for me, quite amazing. Whereas if South Africa had been knocked out, the tune was going to change. We were going to lambast the boys. But it was interesting with the Moroccans. They did not do that. They said, we love you guys, we're backing you guys. And I found that, to be quite humbling, because here you are, you've just missed a penalty, you've knocked out, but your fans are still backing you. So what is then the difference between, the North Africans in terms of support based with us?
Well, from a North African point of view, I mean, for those of us that have been fortunate to go and cover big games in North Africa, firstly, their supporters, if the game kicks off at 5 in the afternoon or at 6 in the afternoon, or even at 7, they're starting to fill up the stadium at midday.
Sure.
They've got the appreciation and the love for the team. And also, we saw within the game itself, there were many traveling Moroccan supporters that came there. And they outnumbered the South African supporters, which was interesting to see outside of the neutrals. And on top of that, I think they're at a point right now in Morocco where things are going so well for them that this one time they could forgive. You know what I mean? They could understand. Look, you were unlucky with the penalty. He didn't miss it as such and hit the post. You're unlucky in that case. Keeper didn't beat him, he didn't save it. He hit the crossbar rather. So they were unlucky there. Had that gone in, it could have changed the momentum of the game completely. It could have swung their way. So that's the little moments that change games. And I think it shows the maturity of fans that understand those little moments of disappointment that create your exit. The overall scoreline says 2-0, but also if you're a smart fan, you're saying that second goal doesn't happen if we're not pushing forward, pushing at the end of the game, looking for an equalizer. So it comes with the understanding as well of an intelligent fan in this case.
The point that you just made now, the last one, an intelligent fan. the problem, Mashatse, with our fans, I'm sorry to say, our understanding of the game is not at that level to appreciate certain things. We're very opinionated about what we think is right.
Yeah.
Look at what Hugo is proving to us. He's come and seen things that not too many people saw, and he's applied them, implemented them, and they're working. And now people are like, how did he get it right?
I mean, but I really look at our team.
Yeah.
Before Mahopa scored, Twitter was on top of this guy.
Yes, they were like,
The
what
very
is he
same people
doing?
who were criticizing him, not understanding the role that he plays.
Yeah.
You know, he plays a very important role for this team.
For sure.
He's part of the system. If he doesn't function and perform that system, this system will collapse.
Yeah.
I understand the currency for a striker to score goals, but sometimes, I mean, I just compared him to Phil Masinga. Brazil never used to score too many goals.
And he got how much for that?
Yeah.
But the guy was playing such a major role.
Remember back in the day, guys like Abu Doctor, the late shoes and Hellman, and he used to lay down the balls for these guys to come and you know. So that's the role that he plays, and he scored. The whole mood changed. Everybody hailed him now as a hero. You know, so that's the issue of the intelligence. Obviously, we are not insulting the fans, but we're just saying sometimes you've got to understand and look at the game in a different manner.
But they're fans. They're fans. That's their role. As to scream and shout and criticize. We must give them their role. And we must actually be on the understanding side that the fans are playing their role. That's why they are out there in the stands.
Sure.
Let's play our game because we're in the field of play.
Yeah.
And let's not get affected by what the fans do. They are playing their role. Their impression, or should I say, their intention is to help the team win. But sometimes, obviously, they don't do it.
They cause more harm than
Choice of words, but that's all right. So moving on then to, of course, Cape Verde is another one that managed to go through into the quarterfinals. And actually quite interesting, gentlemen, in the 2021 edition, the last 8 that qualified, they're not through in this edition. So it shows that, you know, the game is evolving, and the big giants in this tournament, unfortunately, it wasn't written in the stars for them. So what that says then now, you know, as to who could possibly win it, is it about your style of play, or is it a little bit of lady luck that's going to help you to go all the way into the final?
I'll argue a bit of both. Bit of both on the day. You have to make your own luck. Firstly, in your preparations, your approach, and how honest you are with the game on the day. Then your luck, like I say, you make your own luck.
For sure.
Like you said, what's interesting, an interesting stat for me is of the top 5 ranked African countries, none of them are going through to the quarterfinals. That says a lot about this tournament. And Cape Verde, when you look at this tournament so far, for me, they are almost my dark horse of this tournament. They've kept surprising us, and they've kept shocking us. And now from a South African point of view, when you look at the stats again, the last 2 games we played against them were World Cup qualifiers. They beat us both home and away. So how we approach this game is equally as important as Tunisia, Namibia, Morocco. And it'll be interesting to see how the South Africans approach this. I don't know how you feel about it, but...
Well, for me, I can jump in there. You see, I think slowly but surely, I wouldn't say there's a seismic shift, because, I mean, you can be guaranteed that Morocco will come back stronger. They'll go back, they'll fix the problems. You know, Senegal will come back stronger. The big teams will come back in the next tournaments. But there is that small shift where, you know, Mauritania, they're exporting players overseas. They may be playing at the lower leagues, but they're gaining experience there. Cape Verde, their players are in Portugal. They may not be playing for Porto, Benfica, but they're playing at a reasonable level. Angola, their players are overseas. You know, so that makes a huge difference for these so-called small teams, that they can bring those players who are overseas, who are being coached at a good level, to come back for the national team and really make the national team to be strong. This is a challenge that we face in South Africa now. I know there's a big hoo-ha about Bafana having qualified, but if we are really have to look deeper into this Bafana thing, Bafana can do better. Can you imagine if a big chunk of this Bafana squad was playing for big teams in Europe? We can be a guaranteed semi-final AFCON team every tournament. But you know, there's a lot of work that we need to do so that we can be able to consistently compete against Morocco, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, and those big boys that are always there.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where the difference is now.
But also, I think take it into account that a lot is happening in the football world in terms of development.
Yeah.
Now, the African teams can source some of the best expertise in as far as how you prepare the team physically.
For sure.
The conditioning part, something that has been lacking for a long time. We didn't have the scientific methods of preparing the team. We might not be tactically and all that, but if a team is fit enough to be able to last the 90 minutes against the opposition, whatever the opposition throws, it means half the battle is done.
And so many late goals in this tournament.
So many late goals. That tells a lot about how other teams can withstand the pressure and stay on course, and how other teams weakens along the way to concede because of a lack of concentration. So I think from the African side, we got to give credit to the COSAFA region as well. How many did we get into that the knockout stage in as far as the teams from this region? Much better than we had in the past. I mean, we had Zambia, we had Angola, we had South Africa, and 3. And now we got 2 that have progressed into the quarterfinal stage. Something that doesn't happen often. I am saying is there's a lot that is being done underneath. If the countries can continue to press on this very vein of form by doing the right things, the associations and the leagues themselves, by employing better coaches. That's why coaches, when they get employed, they want to bring their team. Because they got the expertise in how to prepare the team physically and all that. So I'm saying there's a lot that has been done at club level to get these players to perform at national team in this region also.
100%.
And probably just to add there also, for a country like Zambia, for the last while now, they've not really done well in terms of Champions League and Confederations Cup football. Also, it tells you that if you don't export players to Europe, then you need 1 or 2 teams that are constantly playing
in the Champions League,
which is what Sanos is doing now. So if and I mean, can you imagine if we've got 1 strong team that is playing the Champions League in Zambia, we've got 1 strong team that is playing the Champions League in Zimbabwe, or of all the teams in the SADC, those players that are playing regular Champions League football can add a lot of value to the national teams, 100%. Even if they are not sending players overseas. So that is another critical issue that is important here.
All right, so before we wrap up AFCON, William Shongwe, I want to find out from you. I mean, we know right now that in the last 8, we've got Cote d'Ivoire, we've got Mali, we've got Nigeria. We also, of course, have the DRC, we have Angola, we've got South Africa into this Cape Verde. Goalkeeping department, besides, of course, Ronwen Williams, who has stood out for you when you look into the keepers in this AFCON tournament?
Well, I can't help but think of...
Well, that's all me.
When I saw him first, I was like, hi. Unengozi. We're looking for disaster. Yes. How he, not only because he attracted attention because of his profile,
how he looks,
but the keeper can make, he's a good goalkeeper. I saw him making very, very good saves. And very impressive, because sometimes we run players down because he's got this nature of his appearance. And he's proven me, actually, not that I didn't, as long as you are physically prepared well, you can take any form of pressure. But I wasn't too sure exactly what kind of strengths does it bring into the game. But fantastic for me. I see all the others, but my focus, my man.
Your man.
Come from the PSL.
Oh, yes. In fact, you know what? Sometimes we underestimate our league.
And its contribution to the continent.
True.
And 4 goalkeepers.
You know? Exactly. Sometimes we underestimate. And this way, I feel like, once again, what is happening at club level has an impact on what happens at national team. So the point for me is that we are on the right track. There's a lot of good things. So the goalkeeping coaching department in this country is also getting better and better.
I fully agree.
There's a problem there where they're saying we've got too many foreign goalkeepers in South Africa.
We'll get into that one another day.
That's a discussion for another day.
And then lastly, still on that one, on the flip side then, which goalkeeper has underperformed in this AFCON tournament?
Two for me.
Two, who's that?
Obviously, the big one is Onana. I can't believe that he actually, with all the ratings that he brought, first of all, he arrives late and he can't play that first game.
Yeah.
And he causes a storm.
And he causes a storm, disrespect and all that. And I think for anybody that has got that mindset in that space must learn. You get humbled in this game. This game can humble you. And of course, you know, I thought that this would have been an opportunity for Ofori to bounce back, you know, to really made a big claim of his role as an Orlando Pirates goalkeeper, because I think he has it.
Yeah.
But it just backfired big time.
Staying on that.
Before you go, I think one of the key things that we need to emphasize is that the match against Cape Verde. Cape Verde is not Ghana, Nigeria, Ivory Coast and stuff in terms of stature and reputation, but we really we can never underestimate it.
No.
Because if we do that, there will be trouble. If you watch their match against Mauritania, you'll understand why.
We have to be realistic. They beat us
That
the last two
level.
matches.
Very dangerous.
They are at a high level. You mentioned that they hate playing, most of the players playing in Portugal.
Yeah.
And so the level there is that high. So what they bring as a team, as a national team, is even higher. It's top quality, tactically.
Yeah. All right. So before then we wrap this up, myself and Sizo Mabena, because clearly, Mahlatsi Mphahlele, you just send your people and say, go back, I'll watch at home. That's exactly what happened.
I sent us on a trip, ma'am.
Yeah, sent
Another
us
one.
down to a trip.
Those are the perks of leadership.
We love it for you. So we're down at Mauro's, of course, for the watch-along party as we're watching Bafana and Morocco. Take a look. I mean, we've had a pleasure of speaking to incredible people, one of my favorite coaches and another keeper. Stay tuned and look into who we spoke to. All right, Coach Desiree joining me now. Coach, all hella Whitney, but ons weet nie. That's what Drickers showed us last week. Bafana showing us the same thing. You called it ahead of the game. Your thoughts on the game, Coach?
You know, I think Coach Hugo's got to take a lot of praise for this. I think it was a tactical masterclass by him. I thought, yes, there were a few chances for Morocco, but I think we were always in control and, you know, we had the better chances. And even though they had a lot of possession, they didn't really threaten us. And when we scored that goal, they had to open up and they had to come out, and we could have scored one or two more. But I also think the penalty was a turning point. But Ronwen was so calm, you know, he was so calm. And from then on, you know, the substitutes were spot on as well, bringing pace on, etc. But I think a lot of credit got to go to Coach Hugo. He's got a lot of flack over the past from everyone. And I think, you know, once again, he's proved how good he is. He's proved that, you know, he trusts in the players that he selected. But a job well done by Bafana.
I think with this big turning point, one thing is going to give confidence to the boys. It has given so much confidence to the nation. Even people that were not watching, tomorrow when they wake up here that we've won, we've beaten Morocco 2-0, there's going to be so much hope, there's going to be so much buzz, and there's going to be so much excitement now about the Nations Cup. And I hope that the boys get to know and understand how much we're proud of them, and they must just keep on doing what they've been doing.
We all know what's been happening in the past, and it's nice to sort of see the revival of Bafana right now, and to see them again reach the last 8. It was the same story in 2019. Can we go one better? Absolutely, and they can do that with the support of their country. And we saw a great game of football today, I must say. I mean, just to sort of see the boys starting their stuff. I mean, we can actually see that they're getting more and more into the tournament. They're getting a bit more fluid and more fluid. I think I've definitely got confidence in the team. Just like the whole nation must have confidence in our team now, heading forward. Let's give them a full support. What a beautiful win against Morocco. I think they do owe us back, you know, for a loss or two that we've received from them in the past. Yeah. But it was a fantastic evening, and I think they've definitely played their part in uniting our country.
Diduzo's joining us now. He is a teacher. Before we get into the game, talk to us. What did you and your students do ahead of the Bafana game?
Pandemonium stuff, pandemonium. I'm telling you, during break time, I sent them all outside. They were all wearing yellow. I told them, listen, any yellow shirt you have, please put it on to support Bafana. We've been doing it with the Springboks. Let's do it with Bafana. We saw it coming. I really didn't see Bafana coming to these matches underdogs. Yeah. No. Yes, we were playing against a team that's number 1 in the continent and number 13, 11th in the world. But we know what's a call of doing. We're South Africans.
We definitely are. Talk to us then now. I mean, who was your star player of this encounter?
They all made it. They all played very well. Now it's difficult to pick one player because they knew what they were coming to do. They knew what they're up for. They knew. The last free kick, icing in the cake.
We've got to back the boys irrespective. Sometimes we only back the boys when they win, but we've got to back the boys because as much as you want to win every game, no one has won every game. There's going to be games that they should have won, that they lose, and then there's going to be games that people expect them to lose and they win. And that is part of sport, and that is part of top sport. I mean, nobody gave us a chance against Morocco, them being the very hot favourites, because they have a fantastic team as well. But I just think today they were outwitted by Hugo Bruce. Masterclass in tactics and the team set up well. You can have all the tactics, but the players have still got to execute the plan. And big congratulations to the players, though, because they went out there and executed the plan to perfection.
We know we went into this tournament being one of the underdogs, and we're going into this tournament, not only being underdogs, but going in with confidence. And for me, I believe from now on, anything is possible.
Bahlangene labantu bayazwana basebenza bonke ispirit isihlangene iwini nayo iyabonisa ukuthi umoya wabantu uhlangene yebo
Kuya phambili. Singafika kufinal?
yes angeke sihluleke ukufika phambili asiconsideranga ifinal sibuya nalo icup.
It's great to see, of course, a lot of the South Africans backing Bafana. Notable there, Coach Desiree Alice, of course, alongside us. It was great to see her, Sizwe Mabena, and, of course, Brian Baloyi as well. But I have to say, one of my favorites was the teacher. Yeah. The teacher that went in to say, no. Break time, nobody was eating. The students decided to say, let's celebrate Bafana. Let's wear our yellow. And I was like, oh, that's so wholesome. But really, William Shongwe, before we let you go.
We'll get it right.
Get it right. Talk to us about the support that we're seeing, not only, of course, from the young children, as well from the national team, that one Coach Desiree Alice, and, of course, Brian Baloyi as well.
It's very important for the country to give that very impression that they're in support. And if you mention those two who knows exactly what it means to get support from your country and to feel that there's people at home that are watching, that they want you to do well, are very, very key figures in our football that needs to be seen. We need to see a whole lot more. I'm sure there's a whole lot more other people out there in different platforms that are doing the very same thing. I think what makes this Bafana even more exciting, their progress, is because in the beginning, that loss to Mali in that opening game, killed the spirit. And from there, we thought it was a downward spiral. But then the recovery, obviously, I think with that in mind, the belief is there. So it's important for the country to come together and continue to fall in that same belief.
The coolest cat. Thank you for joining us. Mahlati has a quick one.
There's been teams that lost the opening game and went on to win the tournament.
Thank you.
When I said it, you guys said no. Please, no ways, guys. When I said it, you guys were fighting me, but
Spain
it's fine.
in 2010.
Argentina recently.
No.
But no pressure, Bafana.
No pressure at all. You know?
The coolest cat, always a pleasure, of course, having you alongside us. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll have you back after we get to the final. I'm hoping we win it.
I'll be waiting for the next call. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, William Shongwe. On that note, a lot has been happening in terms of the transfer market, the biggest one in South Africa. Tim Kosi Lodge leaving Orlando Pirates to go to Mamelodi Sundowns, but not the only one, of course, to break the hearts of Ezimnyama and Nkani. Let's find out, of course, who else has done so, and we'll find out the thoughts of the gentleman here in studio.
In local transfer news, Thembinkosi Lorch made headlines when he made the move from Soweto Giants, Orlando Pirates, to reigning Premier League champions Mamelodi Sundowns. He joins the likes of Godfrey, Godfather Sabula, Lebohang, Cheeseboy Mokoena, Teko, the General Modise, not forgetting the late Gift Remy, who made the move from Orlando Pirates to Mamelodi Sundowns.
The saddest thing about being a football fan, and actually in general being a sports lover, is that your heart will get broken time and time again. But what always breaks you the most is when now your favorite says, listen, I can't do this anymore, I'm moving on. And you don't normally take that well. And I think that's what we've seen, especially from Orlando Pirates, gentlemen, where most of their players have moved from OP to go to Mamelodi Sundowns. I mean, the list is long. I mean, it doesn't start now with Thembinkosi Lorch. Yes, it's the big current one right now. But when we go back in time, we've seen the likes of Sapula, we've seen the likes of Cheeseboy, we've seen the likes of Unesent Mdlele, we've seen the likes of Donna Tiko Modise, we've seen the likes of Ace Opamanisa. So the list is long. But now, the big question is, why do they do it? Is it mainly for the bag, or the trophy is also appetizing?
I think also you have to look at who these players are, where they were in their careers, and their profile at the time in which they moved. And all of them were at the top of their game. You said Zapula, Cheeseboy, Innocent Dede, Gift Remy may have had some problems prior to his move to Sundowns, but found himself at Sundowns.
Yeah.
And we saw maybe another version of Remy at Sundowns. Opamanisa as well as of late Lorch. They all move when they're closest to their peak, which is quite interesting. And for a lot of the guys we've mentioned now, including Vilagaz, I think you could throw into that mix, although he went overseas and came back to Sundowns.
And Dilajali as well.
Yeah, when many were hoping
Yeah.
they'll come back to Orlando Pirates. It's not just the money. Many people will look at it and the easy answer is money. Teko, if memory serves me right, hadn't won anything at Pirates by the time he moved to Sundowns. Got to Sundowns, won just about everything.
Yeah.
And many of these players that we could go through here, Remy, I think as well, he was part of a generation that struggled, played great football at Pirates. Vilagaz was part of that group. They played great football at Pirates, but it just didn't come with the trophies. So that step up to Sundowns, and I'm not saying it's a step up, but that step, or that move to Sundowns, is what then brings, of course, the trophies, which is great just from a legacy point of view.
Yeah.
And every player does it and plays at that level for trophies. We know Peter Mosimane spoke at length about how when he quoted Kamapiliat, what he said was, I'll make you a household name of the continent. I'll bring you the Champions League. That was enough to get Kamapiliat to move. And I think it's a great strategy when you've got possible game winners and you want them to come over and you can guarantee them silverware, which is very hard to come by in any professional career.
100%. Mahlati, with you, I want to look into behavior, yeah, because I know as well in your Twitter space, you normally talk about behavior. And when you look into the past, the likes of, recently, we can start with Lorch, right? We do know that he had a court case that he was going through. Ruud Krol back in the day, when he let go of players after saying, nah, this is not working for me. I think who he let go of was Cheeseboy, because they were having misdemeanor behavior. So the list does also, include a bit of not too happy behavior from the players that the club itself, being Orlando Pirates, can pride themselves about. Is that an outcry for the players to say they want to leave? How do you then look into the behavior situation?
Yeah, I guess looking at the Lorch issue, I think there were issues behind the scenes at Pirates. I think it got to a point where the guy was just not happy anymore. I know, he recently started playing again. But I don't think he was happy. And I also, let's not forget, apparently the contract was coming to an end. So maybe Pirates, did put that into perspective. You are right, he has had a lot of off-the-field stuff. But it was in the courts and, he was punished by the courts and, that's where I guess it ended. He goes to Sundowns with his own baggage. But Sundowns have got a, since Coach Picho, they've got a system there. That's why Coach Picho used to say the system there will reject you. Yeah. If you're allowed and, you don't come to training and you're drinking and that kind of stuff. I don't think he's that kind of a person, really. The only thing that I hope he gets to grips with is the schedule and the punishing schedule at Sundowns. I mean, a few years ago, Sundowns were training in Algiers on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
That's how busy this team is. And but he's a good player. I think he will acclimatize. I think that Sundowns have signed him to sort of start looking at life after Tembazwane.
Which I've been saying to Sizwe Mabena, and he looks at me like I'm crazy.
You know, I think he will play that position. You can see now that Temba is not finishing matches, and you have got to understand the guy. You know, I think he's reached the twilight now. From very soon, we'll start going to see the decline of a once great footballer, and you need to prepare. And I guess Sundowns also, admittedly, what they are not saying is that they don't have a young star coming through who can take over the position. So you've got to get a ready-made kind of player, which is Lodge, to come in there and play. The other thing is, how are they going to manage Lodge if he's not starting matches? You know, he will want to start matches. So I guess Coach Ulani is faced with a difficult job of making sure that he makes the guy happy, he makes Temba happy, because I don't think Temba will suddenly now becomes happier if you know 5-6 games into the resumption of the season he's on the bench and Lodge is starting. So it's a complex thing which hopefully it will be managed very well.
I just want to, mine was going to be quicker, but anyway.
On the discipline issues that you speak of, and Lodge, you've touched on that in depth, but there's a few players here that we can speak of. Vilakazi, before he left to go overseas, had some problems. Whilst he was at Pirates, went to Sundowns and it seemed things cleared up. Gifty Remy was another who had problems also with the Pirates. Got to Sundowns, things cleared up. Unfortunately, he passed away way too early. But
Cheese Boy is also on that
Cheese
list.
Boy is also on that list. But it's interesting. Cheese Boy had injuries once he got to Sundowns. But once they got there, it seemed things seemed to clear up. I think Pach Masinamela from Chiefs was another, got to Sundowns and things seemed to be quiet from a discipline issue. So maybe there's something at Sundowns that just gets them focused. Maybe it's the busy schedule, but they seem to get it together with
There's no Chisanyama
there. So what I wanted to quickly add on that with the system, one thing I've noticed, and when you speak to the players, when you've got senior figures like Kennedy Mweni, Dennis Onyango, one thing that I've heard from the players is that it's the dressing room. And I think that's what Coach Rulani is trying to protect by all means. When you have figures like that, I remember listening to Ronwen Williams saying that when I met those guys, I was like, I want to be like those guys one day. I aspire to achieve as much as they have. So I think when you go into that system, you see that, hey, Mshishi has done well. You know, the keepers have done well. So you get to aspire to be wanting, of course, to be a part of that. And of course, we wish Lodge all the best. And the lovely thing is that there might be space. Yes, managing Shika's emotions as well is going to be very important for us, because we all love Shika. Shika is our favorite child in this country. But before we then get out of here, gentlemen, I know we'd love to sit and talk more, but you know, time is not on our side. We've got our quiz, yeah? Yay!
I think you spoke to management to get rid of this thing.
Listen, so me and our producer, we decided to switch it up a little bit today because Bafana did well. They've managed to march on. So this time around, there's no winner. But it's questions that you have to answer. Is that good enough for you guys?
We'll try.
You'll try?
Let's see.
All right. So there's no wrong answers, no right answers. Mahlati, we'll start with you. Which coach do you think Bafana hired but never gave them enough time?
I think it's Carlos Quiroz.
Really? Okay. I'd love to unpack that, but we don't have time. Mabena?
Time.
Yes.
I'll go back to Clive Barker. I think he should have gone to the World Cup. He should have had way more time.
Okay. Who do you think is the most underrated player?
Now?
Currently, yeah.
What, in Bafana?
So South Africa, they could be playing in the NFD.
Evidence Mahopa.
Evidence Mahopa, underrated?
I think Mvala.
You think Mvala?
He's got mistakes, but I think when he's tuned up, he does the business.
Okay, overrated?
Overrated.
Now you got to make us
Come on, guys, you're going so long.
I can only go as far as there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them that are overrated.
In the PSL, there's a lot of overrated.
Might have to interview them one of these days.
Don't want to mention names. There's a lot. Let's be honest about it.
And then you must change your tune. All right. And then last one. Who made you guys fall in love with football?
Ooh.
Yo, I can give you a few names.
One.
Yes. It has to be Fetsi, Telephone Exchange, Prima Petla, Chipa Mladiri.
Okay, that's your list. Mabena?
Sizwe Mdau, definitely. Shoes Mushem. Isaac Kungwan.
But I only gave one because I was giving nicknames.
Oh, you didn't give us all nicknames.
Yeah. Prima Pedla, you know. Okay, let them finish. I've got more.
I think it's done. Okay, you can add 2 more quickly.
Yeah, well, I think Chipamla Didi was one. Definitely, without a doubt.
You see, you're thinking about
shoes. And I mean, in my book, I think shoes. Obviously, I'm not counting the era of the Jomo Sono and stuff.
Yeah.
I think coming this way, for me, shoes is the best player I've seen.
By far.
Okay.
By far.
Last one, I guess.
Thomas Manigach.
All right. Okay. I'd love to hear from you, right? Who made you fall in love with football? You can always drop your comment, of course, right there below at the comment section. Before we get out of here, what are you guys looking forward to? Sporting action that we can look forward to this weekend?
We find out who gets into the SA20 knockout stages, so to speak. So, interesting time for the SA20. Shame, they've struggled for attention with so much attention on the AFCON. It's not quite the same as last year, but looking forward to that.
But you know their target market is different, so they still go.
Yeah.
So he's not the target market.
He's AFCON. Those are something else.
What about you,
I'm actually attending the Potra Capitals match tonight on Thursday, so, you know.
Oh, yeah, you're going to the Bucs.
By the time this show comes out, it will be yesterday, so yeah. I'm having fun there tonight. Should be good.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Mahlatin Patlele, please read your emails. We'll let you know what colors we are wearing in the next episode.
So shirt, T-shirt.
Yeah. That was you, by the way. Anyway.
But that's it from the Arena Sports Show. We do it again. Cheerio.